Do you know what Capcom's biggest and best-selling Monster Hunter game is, or just what their best-selling overall game is? It's always a bit of fun and nice to look at these sales numbers for our favorite game franchises to see just how successful they are by traditional standards, as we may love the game ourselves, but it could still be a flop. Thankfully, this isn't the case for Monster Hunter, but let's have a look at just how well some of these different games have sold. Since we are talking about sales numbers by the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of how well Capcom games are doing at the moment. So let's play a little game, and what we want to know is if you think Monster Hunter Wilds will outsell Monster Hunter World and Rise. One of the really cool things about Capcom is that they are one of the few rare companies that are very transparent about their sales numbers, as they have a website that updates itself regularly with the actual sales numbers for some of their biggest games. Now let's go through the top 5 of their biggest game. At number 5, we have Monster Hunter World Iceborn. This is just the sales of the expansion by itself, not including the base game, that accompanies another spot on this list. It is pretty crazy to think that it's been 5 years since the actual release of Iceborn, and the expansion sold 10.7 million copies alone. Some people absolutely loved the Clutch Claw, while others completely hated it, but as a whole, we thought it was a pretty awesome expansion to the actual base game of World. This is especially true when you consider that the game was topped off by some really spicy fights that had the community struggling to fight the likes of Alatreon and Fatalis. We are really hoping we're going to get some more monsters of this difficulty in Monster Hunter Wilds. In number 4, there's another franchise that dominates a lot of the top game spots in Capcom's best-selling games. This one is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. This is the first game that implemented the RE engine, which always makes us think that RE means Resident Evil engine, but it's actually called the Reach for the Moon engine, hence the logo. This also wasn't the only first thing that this game introduced, as it also swapped the third-person camera for a more intense first-person perspective, alongside returning to a more survival horror route after Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 took it more in the action direction. By the way, are we the only ones that really liked the action direction of those Resident Evil games? Resident Evil 5 was one of our all-time favorite co-op games at that time, and we're really hoping that they make more in a similar vein to that. But now a quick word from our sponsor of today's video, it's Raid Shadow Legends, because Raid Shadow Legends is actually one of the greatest games of all time, and it's out now on your mobile, so make sure you have a mobile. 100% massive psych, this video is not sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, as we haven't fallen off that hard yet. But they do have collaborations at the moment that we would love to talk to you about, as there is a absolutely crazy one that no one saw coming, a Monster Hunter collab with Raid Shadow Legends. As part of the 25th anniversary celebration for Monster Hunter, from January 9th to March 5th of 2024 this year, Raid Shadow Legends is having a collaboration event, and they actually made a pretty sick CGI trailer for it. Within the actual event, they're introducing 5 new champions, each with their own Monster Hunter themed moves and skills. For example, by logging in for 7 days, you can get the Rathalos Blade Master and this champion that has the following moves: a Spirit Thrust that attacks one enemy with a chance of placing a debuff, a Spirit Step Slash that looks to be an AoE that ignores a portion of a target's defense, the Overhead Slash that attacks all enemies and places a buff on the champion, and then there's the Rathalos Mastery that increases your damage against debuffed enemies and reduces damage you take from them. Alongside that, you can also get the Zinogre Blade Master, the Ruiner Nergigante Archer, Alatreon Blade Master, and the Fatalis Blade Master. We will put the full trailer for this at the end of the video, and even if you don't play this game, because we don't play this game either, it's still really cool to see a Monster Hunter collaboration with a cool CGI trailer like this, and for Monster Hunter to just have these collaborations in general. Going back to the sales list, number 3 is the remake of Resident Evil 2 with 13.1 million copies sold. We think the Resident Evil remake really shows the passion that Capcom has for their games, as well sometimes you can just release a HD remaster. When it comes to doing a full-on remake from the ground up, they really do give us some awesome polish that has fans loving these remakes. But guys, humor me for a second. What if Capcom did this same thing with Monster Hunter? So rather than having a mainline spin-off or a portable title, we could have a cycle wherein instead we get a new mainline game and then a remake. Imagine ground-up remakes of titles like Monster Hunter 1, Tri, or 4U, but in the RE engine that could release alongside something like Monster Hunter Wilds. To be able to go back to our hunting roots with an updated engine and extra quality of life updates would really be something special, and we think it's something that they could definitely do and would give the community more options for what games to play and entry points into the series. But what do you think? But for number 2 on this list, it's the most recent monster hunting base game, and that is Monster Hunter Rise. This, just as the base game by itself, has sold 13.6 million copies so far. Meanwhile, the Sunbreak expansion is 12th place on this list with 6.5 million copies sold. So both the base game and the expansion have done pretty well. It will be super interesting to see if or what elements they keep from Rise going into the future of Monster Hunter, as Rise had some very drastic changes to the formula with things like wyvern riding and more action, fast-paced, focused combat with the wire bug and 3D maneuvering. It seems like the development team really want us to have some kind of grapple in Monster Hunter, as World has the slinger, in Iceborn we have the clutch claw, and in Rise we have the wire bug, and in Wilds we can theorize that we might be getting the next iteration of this. But then at the number 1 slot we have the big boy title that is Monster Hunter World, and it's crazy just how much more this has sold compared to the other titles in this list. Monster Hunter World was absolutely huge for Capcom, with a recent figure of 19.1 million copies sold, making it Capcom's biggest and best game ever. It has been over 6 years since it released, and as of right now the game is booming in terms of player count for a variety of reasons. The player count just recently has hit over 150k on Steam, which is the highest it's been since it's actually launched, just showing how special this game is to a lot of people, as Capcom have recently launched the Return to World campaign and the community has sprinted back in. It's also great to see that we're getting a whole new set of eyes on the game and people coming into it, with massive streamers like Asmongold, who's someone that we've been watching for years, finally trying out the game and loving it. And Asmon, if you see this by the way, you need to charge your damn greatsword chops right. With Monster Hunter World doing so well for Capcom, it does bring up an interesting question, which is whether the dev team should focus on making games that are more like World, which is where they've seen their most recent success. In a recent interview about Monster Hunter, Ryozo actually answered this question directly, and what he essentially said is that when they make games, they like to take on a challenge rather than chasing ideas that made previous things successful, and they feel that this ideology has got them this far, so they're sticking with it. So there you have it, Capcom's best-selling titles and a very strange Monster Hunter collaboration. We're going to leave you with the full trailers for the Shadow Raid Legends Monster Hunter collaboration so that you can enjoy them, because it's pretty bizarre.
Teleria is no stranger to powerful beasts emerging from mysterious portals, but never from a realm beyond our imagination. These otherworldly creatures, confused by their strange new environment, began to lash out at all who got close. But wherever there are monsters, there are those trained to hunt them, aided by a particular creature resembling a cat. Native Telerians were trained in the ways to defeat these awesome beasts. And one by one, they triumphed.
That is not a normal monster.
I welcome the challenge.
What took you so long?
Oh, my bones! My beautiful dead bones!
Easy, big fella.
Still here, still in pain. Help! And the best part? I was never scared once.
A toast to victory!
Wait, where's our new friend and the furry little one?
Download Raid to get your free Monster Hunter Legendary Champion.